All right, folks, I am back with another Grand Tactician, the Civil War tutorial. This one is going to be on cavalry, and we've done the order of battle, the deployment in one, we did infantry in the second, and now we're going to do cavalry. So in this battle, we have Stuart. I have him organized as his own cavalry division, and he's got 2 cavalry brigades under him. So Stuart is pretty close to Johnston, and I have detached Stuart, so he's no longer part of Johnston's formations. That's why it's the dash line, but that is still the connection. For right now, I'm going to move these guys together, but just very quickly, some of the old stuff that also applied in the infantry tutorial applies here. If you want to step back and kind of just, see how things go if you give the AI general orders, let them figure it out, you could do that here under the initiative. Again, I don't. I'm the consummate micromanager, so I'm not going to do that. What else you can do is change their formation. So I actually don't know if March Column does anything for cavalry. I guess I'm about to find out. But we can see the order going through. We'll see if they respond to it. Some of the other things you can do with cav, some of it that's different from infantry, is you can deploy scouts. They don't have skirmishers, but they do have scouts. You do have the ability to lay down. I'm guessing that forces folks off of their horses. Right here, you can see there's the mounting option. I believe when it's kind of that red bronze, that means that they are mounted. All right, so they actually will go into March Column. I hadn't tried that. And apparently they've decided to move. I don't know if that was Stuart's direction or others, but they are moving. Should also keep an eye on this battle. Oh, whoa, they formed over here. Some trickeration. I did not see that coming. So that's interesting now, because now we actually see where the enemy has some troops, and I don't think they have all that many. But I'm not convinced that they're actually going to come onto the side. So, anyways, we're sending the cavalry up here, and they're in march. I think I'm doing it to save stamina. I'm doing that thing where I move Stuart by left-clicking to select him, and then I hold Alt and I right-click where I want him. And actually, I want him right about there. I'm also going to, as I said in the first video, I'm going to start moving the HQs to kind of be right at about the midpoints of where they need to be, to have as few order delays as possible. But we're on cavalry, so we're going to continue with cavalry here. As I was mentioning, these guys are mounted. If I click this off, they're going to dismount their horses and move. Again, if you put scouts out, I think at this point in the game, they just kind of move with the parent brigade. So look, these are the scouts. But I don't think they can yet go off on their own as skirmishers can and do their own stuff. I think they have to travel with the parent unit. But what they do is, I believe they'll tell you this when you hover over it. Okay, so they don't tell you, but I believe what it does is it gives you a greater view. It lifts more of the fog of war because they're up ahead, scouting, of all things. So that's why you would want to do it. I also usually, so if we're going to give them both scouts just for the heck of it, we can. One of the things I tend to do with scouts is also give them evade, so that we're not getting involved in melee when we're really not ready to. And I try not to get involved in melee I try not to get into any sort of combat, melee or range, with cavalry when they're mounted. I try to dismount them. And I'll show you why in just a moment. Cavalry are very good in combat, but for me, they got to be dismounted. I would recall the skirmishers. I would get them off their horses. I would move them to single line. And moved into loose order, which makes them harder to shoot. It feels like they move faster. I don't know that that's true, and so I'm not saying it is, but it seems like they move faster. So again, we wouldn't want scouting on. Okay, and taking scouting off also apparently takes away evade. Our guys are already dismounted, and then have them go... Oh, wait. They're not dismounted. Let's see if they will be soon. And so maybe they're just moving this way. I don't know. Because. But if I got them close to combat, I would not want them mounted. I want them dismounted and in loose order. Are we going to do that? All right, so when they get there, it looks like they then dismounted when they arrived at the location. And I believe, yeah, so it is red, so it is, they're back into loose order. So that's actually good. They moved as quickly as possible. Again, you can have them lay down. They lose a little bit of range, but since they don't have much range anyways, they're not losing that much by laying down. The one problem here is that they're kind of in that. Well, it said they were in marching column, but they were in a line. Cavalry and combat. Was there anything else here? No, again, the movement stuff, those are all options you have with the infantry HQs as well, and they're all self-explanatory. This is just reminding us that the division has been detached from the army, so it's not part of its formations, but it does still take orders from the army commander. I have not yet been able to build parapets, even though there's an option to do it. So it'll say, you know, oh, I'm sorry, you can only build breastworks. But I can't actually get my cavalry to do it. And I'm not even sure if cavalry can actually get cover bonuses on fences, on creek beds, and so forth. But that's why I would put them in loose formation anyways. Put these guys... Maybe we can. I was going to have these guys ready to ride out, but find the enemy. Anyways, I said that I think cavalry are really good in combat. They are. And I think the flanks is probably the right place for them. Since they have generally quite limited range, the Maynard Carbines 300 yards is probably some of the longest ranged cavalry weapons there are. And it looks like I gave them to both. You'll notice that by contrast, the Enfield rifle musket, which isn't really that good, has 400 yards. I think some Fayette 500 yards. So these guys are going to be outranged head to head with an enemy infantry unit, right? An enemy infantry unit could probably stand at about this house if they had something like the Fayetteville carbine, and at long range, they're shooting your cavalry, but your cavalry can't shoot back. So if you're on a unit's flank, they're not pointed at you anyways. And the really big advantage is in the, I guess you're looking at reload, but it's really the rate of fire, right? They're able to pump out 12 rounds a minute. I think these guys had the Fayetteville. 3 rounds a minute. So they have 4 times, and you see overall size, that's almost 2,300 men. That's a little bit less than 2,000. They're comparable in size. If you put them in loose formation, they can dodge more of the shots on their way in. But their real bread and butter is getting up close and then using that high rate of fire to rapidly inflict casualties on the flank or again in the rear. I mean, that is devastating, but it's sometimes hard to get to the rear on the enemy unless you really outnumber them, in which case you're probably going to break them anyways for other reasons. But I find that a screening force of skirmishers to the front, cavalry on the flank. I usually try to overload a flank and concentrate my cavalry on a single flank and try to turn that, and then I'll have the infantry follow up. Well, whatever. We'll do the battle stuff when we do it. But anyways, that's the kind of application for cavalry. One of the other ones that is really useful is going out to find the enemy. So say we're going to do that. So Stuart is here. Yeah, we're in that formation. We want our guys to scout and evade. And it's not really where I want them, but it's where they're going, so. So we're going to move them up there. But a lot of times I do send the cavalry out long distances to find the enemy. That means that there will be, you kind of got to be more sure of what they're doing, because there are going to be longer order delays as the distance increases. Right? As these guys go further away, they're further away from HQ. And so it's going to take longer for the Army HQ to tell the Division HQ, hey, you got to move here or there. So you kind of got to plan it out and be okay with your decisions. The orders will get there. And again, when it's inside the circle, it's going to move quicker than if it's outside the circle. But I'll sometimes also send the individual cavalry units in different directions, just to find out even maybe a bit more about where the enemy is. In this case, I'm pretty sure I know where they are. But what I'll do is, so I know that I have one unit there, and my Army HQ is back here. So I would say about the midpoint of some of those, and I'm a little concerned about my furthest away unit up here, is I'll have the Division HQ try to set themselves in the middle. All right. Just quickly, time is running out. I mean, it is the middle of July, but it's almost 7 p.m., and so I've spent a lot of time with this introduction. And again, I'm kind of getting into stuff. I know that they have a small force, 7,500 guys. I would bet this is probably all of it. Detachment. Wow, that is a small brigade. Holy moly, those are smaller than regiments. 1,000. This might not actually be their whole force. If most of those units are all that small, that might not be it. But we have these units riding out here. What I also sometimes do with cavalry is send them out to capture victory points. Now, that's not what they're doing, but I will do that once they reach their destination. The enemy, which is defending anyways, is over here. Kind of just hanging out. We need to speed things up here a bit, otherwise we get bored. All right, so Stuart's getting to his midpoint, and Marmaduke with his skirmishers is at his. And again, I don't know that I can actually move the scouts. I guess I'll try, and I'll see if the scouts will move independent of the parent unit. This is some live testing, but I'm pretty sure the answer is no. I think I have to move. You see that's a weak connection between Stuart and that unit, so there would be order delays, but I'm pretty sure if I can find there, that's the parent unit. So ordering them there would actually probably move them there, and there should be an order. You can see that that's the courier from the HQ there. It's taking some time, but they're going to get out there. All right, that's actually not too bad, but we are on 5 times speed, so it would be a lot slower if we were on 1 time speed. But we'll have them ride out and sit under this victory point. It's 10 victory points is pretty good. So we'll look to do that. I'm also going to see, I don't know if cavalry can occupy buildings. I'm guessing not, but infantry can occupy some of the larger buildings. That's the scouts. Yeah, it doesn't look like the regular infantry can. Notice that while they're marching and doing those things, that you get updates on what's going on. It'll say disrupted, and you'll be like, oh, what's that? It's usually just something that happens when they're moving. And the higher the quality of the troops, the quicker this disruption dissipates. And again, for me, because I am kind of the micromanager, I would try to cheat the HQ a little bit closer to my HQ, and maybe a little bit closer now to this unit, and maybe even move it up here. Honestly, though, at nighttime, I don't like to get too close to the enemy because they frequently will then deploy, sometimes in my deployment zone, and it just leads to stuff getting overrun and a lot more problems than we need. All right, this video is starting to go long. Cavalry are very good. My opinion of them has increased a lot as I've played more and used them more. Next video will be about the last, what I would say is the last real branch here, which is the artillery. Yeah, so we'll do it then.